He's a federal minister with two portfolios, employment and social development, as well as multiculturalism. Jason Kenney was in Prince George today, meeting with local officials and speaking at a luncheon. He is the minister at the center of a controversy brewing between his ministry and the provincial counterparts, including BC's Jobs Minister Shirley.
After a brief visit in Terrace, Federal Employment Minister Jason Kenney popped into IMSS wearing his Multiculturalism minister's hat. But he spoke of the new Canada Jobs Grant announced in the federal budget.
There's a lot of good training programs, but to be honest, there are some training programs that train people for jobs that don't exist. And we want to get maximum bang for the taxpayer's buck when it comes to training programs. So that's the concept of the job grant. Would have an employer identifying someone they would be willing to hire if they got some specific training.
The original Canada Jobs Grant was announced in the 2013 federal budget. It's set to expire on March 31st, but the proposed new plan would see the provinces and territories lose control of over roughly $300 million, something that is unacceptable to BC's Jobs Minister Shirley.
We are not prepared to put at risk programs that support vulnerable and marginalized workers, people who are currently not able to get into the job market. So, while we do want to find a way to work constructively with the federal government to make sure we have more workers in the workforce, we care about making sure vulnerable Canadians have an opportunity to get into the job market.
The federal government says it's still working with the provinces to renew some form of labour market agreement with the provinces, but Bond fears it may be too late.
Those programs are now at risk. In fact, the deadline for many of those programs for their funding is March the 31st, and I know that I've been contacted recently by a number of those providers expressing their anxiety. These programs are effective. They make a difference.
Following the last budget, the federal government as much announced plans to forge ahead with or without the provinces.
Well, I think they would prefer just to frankly a blank check from the federal government to spend according to their own priorities, and I understand that, I respect that. But this is a federal program, and I think it's reasonable for us to ask for certain outcomes. And really the idea here is that employers in Canada are not putting enough money into training people for jobs.
The provinces all remain adamant in their opposition to what's being proposed by the federal government. Cheryl Jan, CKPG News.